5 minutes in reply. Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I want to thank all the speakers who have spoken during this debate and all parties for their indications of support for this legislation. It is very welcomed by me and by the Wellington City Council. While I'm on the subject of thanking people, it is timely to thank Wellington City councillors who've helped drive this project. I want to particularly acknowledge Helen Ritchie and Iona Pannett in most recent times, and other councillors before them who have been the driving force to get this legislation through the process that the Wellington City Council has. It hasn't been easy, Mr Speaker. We've gone through a couple of trienniums, but we have got there, and I'm very grateful for the support that those councillors have given. Behind the scenes, council officials have worked overtime to get this legislation into good shape. I want to particularly acknowledge Paul Andrews and especially Michael Oates, who has lived and breathed this with me for many years, and Michael has done a terrific job in pulling together all of the threads that make up this legislation. Michael, you deserve all the congratulations for that. They've been helped, the Wellington City Council officials, by a team of lawyers. We've been at this for so long that the law firm's changed its name about 4 times while we've been doing the bill. But to Adam Holloway and Nick Chapman, thank you very much too for your excellent work in getting the bill to this point. My colleague Annette King has already mentioned the advocacy of the groups in the Wellington community who do truly love and live the Town Belt, in particular the Friends of the Town Belt group. They have worked hard on this legislation for a very long time. Annette King mentioned Joan Quinn, who's in the public gallery today. Joan has a lifetime attachment to the Wellington Town Belt, and she epitomises the way Wellingtonians feel about it. And Joan, I hope you will be pleased today to see the legislation finally find its way into this House. Mr Speaker, there were a number of matters raised in speeches that I do want to refer to just briefly. The first of those is the issue around the Public Works Act, and I did say in my comments that this has been an issue of debate. Wellington City Council itself has never formally proposed that the Town Belt be exempted from the Public Works Act. What is in the legislation is an attempt by the council and officials to come up with a formulation that protects the councillors in their role as trustees of the trust deed. And as councillors, they are not allowed to do anything that would dispose of the Town Belt. So that is protected. What was then suggested in this legislation was a process that would give standing to councillors and other Wellingtonians in any attempt to acquire the Town Belt land under the Public Works Act, and outline a process for compensation should that occur. There have been discussions between Land Information New Zealand, NZTA and council officials, and as I said in my opening remarks, that has led to some proposals that the Wellington City Council will bring to the Select Committee. And to correct Mr Hudson, that is the process the Minister for Land Information agreed to, specifically that those amendments would come to the Select Committee. That is the correct way to deal with an issue like this when a bill has gone through the Wellington City Council's processes. This is a local bill. It comes to us from a decision of the Wellington City Council. They've made their decision. That's the bill we have in front of us, but they have acknowledged that they will propose changes in this area at the Select Committee. The other area I want to mention, Mr Speaker, just briefly in the couple of minutes remaining to me, is around the other concerns that were raised in early consultation on this bill. That is the question of commercial activities, and I want to be very clear with anyone who is listening. Commercial activities are limited by this legislation. This bill is about protecting the purpose of the Town Belt as a public recreation ground. Under this bill, no more than 8 hectares of land in total at any one time can be leased, and those leases cannot be granted for more than 20 years, including any renewals, with exceptions for the Chest Hospital site and Wellington Zoo. Mr Speaker, I am proud to bring this bill to the House. It is the product of a lot of work, and it does speak for the City of Wellington, a city that values its green and open space, but also a city that values that every Wellingtonian deserves to be able to enjoy this. This bill upholds those principles. It provides certainty, clarity and confidence that the Town Belt will be there for many generations to come. I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Wellington Town Belt Bill, first reading.
Members, the question is that the Wellington Town Belt bill be considered by the Local Government and Environment Committee. Those of that opinion will say aye, and to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.